Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2867 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. The title for today's Wisdom Trek is The Song of Ascent, The Scars of Survival, and the Broken Chords. In our previous episode on this grand journey, we rested in the warm, beautiful, and deeply comforting sanctuary of the family hearth. We explored Psalm 128, which painted a magnificent picture of domestic shalom. We saw the profound blessing of a life that fears the Lord, where our daily labor is protected, our marriages flourish like fruitful grapevines, and our children grow like vigorous young olive trees around our tables. We celebrated the multi-generational peace that cascades directly down from the cosmic summit of Mount Zion, anchoring our families to the eternal timeline of God's grace. But, as any seasoned traveler knows, the Pilgrim Trail does not stay in the safety of the cozy home forever. The road of faith is a rugged mountain pass, and it frequently cuts through dangerous, hostile territory. Today, we are stepping onto the next section of the trail, exploring the 10th song in this ancient collection, Psalm 129, verses 1 through 8, in the New Living Translation. The psalmist abruptly shifts our focus away from the peaceful agricultural blessing of a fruitful home and forces us to confront a shocking, highly painful agricultural metaphor. We are moving from the shade of the olive tree directly onto the blood-soaked soil of a battlefield, learning what it means to carry the deep scars of survival while trusting in the ultimate justice of the King. Let us step onto the path and listen to the resilient song of the survivor. The first segment is The History of Pain and the Plowman's Furrows. Psalm 129, verses 1 through 3. From my earliest youth, my enemies have persecuted me. Let all Israel repeat this. From my earliest youth, my enemies have persecuted me, but they have never defeated me. My back is covered with furrows, as if a plowman had plowed long trenches. The song opens with a raw, collective cry that echoes down through the centuries. The psalmist demands that the entire gathered community join in a corporate chant of survival. From my earliest youth, my enemies have persecuted me. Let all Israel repeat this. When the psalm speaks of earliest youth, it is not referring to the childhood of an individual writer. It is describing the corporate infancy of the nation of Israel. The historical memory of this people is deeply saturated with trauma. From the moment they were born as a distinct community, down in the brick-making tyranny of Egypt, they were hunted. They were oppressed by the Amalekites in the wilderness, harassed by the Philistines during the era of the Judges, assaulted by the superpower of Assyria, and ultimately violently dragged away into the crushing captivity of Babylon. Suffering is woven directly into the fabric of Israel's historical identity. To truly understand why this tiny nation has faced such a relentless, systemic, and multi-generational hatred, we must look through the lens of cosmic geography and the divine council worldview, as taught by Dr. Michael S. Heiser. In the Deuteronomy 32 worldview, when the Most High divided the nations at the Tower of Babel, he allocated them to the oversight of lesser spiritual beings, the sons of God. These territorial Elohim subsequently rebelled, becoming corrupt and demanding worship for themselves. But Yahweh set apart Jacob, the people of Israel, as his own personal, treasured allotment. Israel was designed to be the beachhead of the true kingdom of God on earth, the line through which the Messiah would eventually come to reclaim the entire planet. Therefore, the rebel spiritual principalities have a deeply rooted cosmic grudge against Israel. The surrounding pagan nations are their earthly proxies, moving under their dark inspiration, constantly attempting to crush, assimilate, or entirely erase the people of Yahweh from the face of the earth. The persecution is not a series of random political misunderstandings. It is a calculated, supernatural conspiracy to thwart the redemptive plan of the Creator. The sheer brutality of this cosmic assault is revealed in the shocking, graphic metaphor of verse 3. My back is covered with furrows, as if a plowman had plowed long trenches. Imagine the horrifying visual. The back of the nation is treated like an open, empty field. The enemies of God do not just strike them. They drive a heavy, iron-tipped agricultural plow right across their flesh. The lash of the oppressor cuts deep, tearing open long, bloody trenches of pain, leaving permanent, raised scars of trauma across generations. It speaks of systemic, agonizing abuse. Yet, even with their backs plowed open, verse 2 contains a stunning, defiant pivot that shatters the power of the enemy. But they have never defeated me. The scars are real. The pain is undeniable. And the trenches are deep, but the survival is absolute. The rebel gods bared their fangs and deployed their massive empires, but they could not finish the job. The covenant community still stands, stubbornly breathing and singing on the trail to Jerusalem. The second segment is The Righteous Deliverer and the Severed Harness. Psalm 129, verse 4. But the Lord is good. He has cut the cords that bound me to the wicked. After staring directly into the graphic trauma of the plowman's trenches, the psalmist introduces the ultimate reason for Israel's miraculous survival. But the Lord is good. He has cut the cords that bound me to the wicked. Other translations render the opening phrase as, the Lord is righteous. This is a crucial theological distinction in the cosmic courtroom. Yahweh is not an indifferent spectator watching the abuse from a safe distance. He is the perfectly just, sovereign commander. He looks down at the field of pain, sees the wicked driving their heavy plow across the backs of his people, and he decides that the legal boundaries of the covenant have been violated. To understand the imagery of cutting the cords, we must examine ancient agricultural technology. An ox was attached to the heavy wooden or iron plow by a complex system of thick leather cords, ropes, and harnesses. If those cords remained intact, the plowman could keep driving the beast forward, forcing the plowshare deeper into the dirt, tearing up the field indefinitely. The wicked and the dark spiritual principalities behind them intended to keep plowing Israel's back forever. They wanted permanent, eternal enslavement. But the righteous judge steps directly onto the field. With one swift, authoritative, and supernatural stroke, he slices the leather harnesses in half. He cuts the cords. The connection between the driving beast and the weapon of oppression is instantly severed. The plow stops dead in its tracks. The mechanism of slavery is completely shattered. This is a magnificent declaration of cosmic liberation. When God cuts the cords, the human oppressors lose their leverage, and the rebel spiritual forces lose their grip. Think about the exodus from Egypt. God cut the cords of Pharaoh's chariots. Think about the return from Babylon. He snapped the iron chains of the empire. The survivor does not escape through their own cleverness or their own military might. They walk free simply because the razor-sharp justice of Yahweh sliced through the ropes that bound them to the darkness. The third segment is The Helpless Doom of the Haters of Zion. Psalm 129, verses 5 through 8. May all who hate Jerusalem be turned back in shameful defeat. May they be as helpless as grass growing on a roof, withering before it can grow. It can't be harvested by the reaper or bound into sheaves by the harvester. May those who pass by refuse to say to them, the blessing of the Lord be upon you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. Having celebrated the broken cords of the past, the psalmist turns his attention to the final destiny of those who continue to oppose the kingdom of light. He issues a prophetic imprecatory prayer. May all who hate Jerusalem be turned back in shameful defeat. Remember, Jerusalem, Mount Zion, is the cosmic mountain, the designated headquarters of Yahweh on earth. To hate Jerusalem is not a petty dislike of a foreign city. It is a declaration of war against the Creator's chosen center of cosmic order. The individuals and the unseen spiritual principalities who hate Zion are actively attempting to pull the world back into primeval chaos. The psalmist prays that their strategic designs will fail, forcing them into a panicked, humiliating retreat. To describe the ultimate futility of these enemies, the psalmist deploys a brilliant, highly witty agricultural metaphor in verses 6 and 7. May they be as helpless as grass growing on a roof, withering before it can grow. It can't be harvested by the reaper or bound into sheaves by the harvester. In the ancient Near East, the flat roofs of mud brick houses were covered with a layer of clay and thatch. When the seasonal winter rains fell, stray seeds embedded in the dirt of the roof would quickly sprout. For a brief moment, a lush, green carpet of grass would appear on top of the house. It looked elevated. It looked successful. It looked like it was higher than the crops growing down in the low fields. But it was entirely an illusion. Because there was no deep soil and absolutely no root system, The moment the fierce, scorching Mediterranean sun hit the rooftop, that grass would instantly wither and die, drying up before it could ever grow, mature, or produce any grain. It was completely useless. When the time of harvest arrived, no reaper would bother bringing a sickle to the roof. No harvester could gather enough of it to bind into a single sheaf of wheat. It was spiritually and physically bankrupt. This is a profound, mocking contrast to the metaphors we explored in Psalm 128. The children of the righteous are like deep-rooted, long-lasting, and vigorous olive trees that produce valuable oil for centuries. But the wicked, the proxies of the rebel gods, are like shallow roof grass. They look elevated, they look powerful, and they seem to be sitting high above the righteous in the present moment. But they have no root system in the eternal. Their legacy is a flash in the pan, destined to wither into worthlessness under the blazing heat of God's ultimate judgment. The song concludes in verse 8 by describing the absolute social and spiritual isolation of the wicked. May those who pass by refuse to say to them, "The blessing of the Lord be upon you. We bless you in the name of the Lord." In ancient Israel, the harvest season was a beautiful, deeply communal celebration. It was a strict cultural custom that when people walked past a field where workers were reaping grain, they would loudly shout a joyful blessing of hospitality, saying, "The blessing of Yahweh be upon you." The harvesters would shout a blessing back, creating a beautiful rhythm of shared covenant life. But the haters of Zion are completely excluded from this rhythm. They are left alone on their parched, barren roofs. No one blesses their work. No one invokes the name of the Lord over their lives. They are left to wither in isolated, shameful defeat, entirely cut off from the flowing, life-giving stream of the covenant community. The fourth segment is carrying the scars with defiant hope. Psalm 129, verses 1 through 8, provides us with a gritty, realistic, and profoundly resilient framework for navigating suffering in a hostile world. It teaches us that the pilgrim journey is not a path of shallow comfort. If you choose to follow the cosmic blueprint of the Creator, you will face opposition. The rebel forces of this culture will attempt to treat your life like an open field, plowing deep furrows of pain, stress, and contempt across your heart. The scars of your survival are real, and the Bible never asks you to minimize the trauma of the trenches. But this psalm also reminds us that our scars do not define our destiny. The enemy may drive the plow, but they do not own the field. As you walk your trek today, stand tall in the face of the proud and the arrogant systems of this world. Remember that the righteous Lord is standing right beside you, and He has a history of cutting the cords. He will not allow the mechanisms of wickedness to permanently hold you in bondage. Look at the elevated, successful mockers of our culture and see them for what they truly are: shallow roof grass, destined to wither before the harvest. Do not envy their temporary elevation. Keep your roots deep in the soil of the covenant. Trust in the sharp, liberating justice of your King, and sing the resilient song of the survivor all the way to the summit. If you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us, and come along tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, mentor, and, most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through this Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom